I was curled up asleep in my car with just $186 left when a soft knock tapped on the window. The knock came at 11:47 p.m. Soft, but insistent enough to pull me out of the kind of sleep you only get when exhaustion wins over discomfort. I'd been curled up in the back seat of my 2011 Toyota Corolla behind a Safeway in Newark for 3 hours, using my jacket as a blanket and my backpack as a pillow. The parking lot lights created this orange haze through the windows, and somewhere in the distance, a shopping cart rattled across asphalt. The knock came again. I jerked upright, my neck screaming from the angle I'd been sleeping at. Through the fogged window, I could make out a figure, tall, older, wearing what looked like an expensive suit that didn't belong in a grocery store parking lot at midnight. Behind him, a black Lincoln Navigator idled near the entrance, engine running, headlights cutting through the October darkness. My heart hammered. I had $186 in my pocket, a dead phone, no ID that worked anymore. The cops had confiscated my driver's license when they served the eviction notice because, apparently, there was a warrant I didn't know about. I was 24 years old and had nothing left to lose, which somehow made everything more terrifying. I cracked the window half an inch. Cold air rushed in, carrying the smell of rain and exhaust. "Can I help you?" The man's face was weathered but distinguished. Silver hair, sharp blue eyes that studied me with an intensity that made my skin crawl. He looked like someone who belonged in boardrooms, not grocery store parking lots after midnight. "Owen Mercer," he said. Not a question, a statement. My stomach dropped. "Who are you?" "William Ashford." He paused, letting the name hang in the air between us. "I'm your grandfather." I almost laughed. Would have, if the situation weren't so surreal. My father, Nathan Mercer, had passed 12 years ago when I was 12 years old. Sudden cardiac event in his office. Gone before the ambulance arrived. His family, the Ashfords, had cut us off completely after the funeral. No calls, no support, no acknowledgement that my mother and I even existed. Just silence. "I don't have a grandfather," I said. My voice came out steadier than I felt. William's expression didn't change. "Your Uncle Daniel and Aunt Charlotte have been using your name and social security number to protect themselves from liability, identity theft, fraudulent loans, business guarantees. They assumed you'd never surface, never question it, never be in a position to fight back." The words hit like a physical blow. I stared at him through that half-inch crack in the window, my mind trying to process what he'd just said. Identity theft, my name, my credit. "I don't understand." He slid a thick manila folder through the gap in the window. "Read it, then decide if you want to stay invisible." I took the folder with shaking hands. Inside were documents, lots of documents. Credit card statements for accounts I'd never opened. Business loan applications with signatures that looked like mine but weren't. Bank statements showing transfers to accounts I'd never seen. A trust document, something about my father's estate, with disbursement records that made my vision blur. "This is fraud," I whispered. "It's been going on for 8 years, William said quietly. "Since you turned 16. Your Uncle Daniel needed to shield assets from a lawsuit. Your Aunt Charlotte needed credit history that wasn't destroyed by her spending habits. They used your clean record, your father's son, the child they'd abandoned." My hands wouldn't stop shaking. The documents kept catching the parking lot lights, official letterheads, notary stamps, signatures that almost looked like mine. "Why are you helping me?" William's jaw tightened. "Because I chose peace over responsibility once. After your father passed, Daniel and Charlotte convinced me it would be easier to let your mother drift away quietly. No drama, no conflict. I was weak, cowardly. I let them control everything, the estate, the business, the family narrative." He pulled out a sealed envelope. The handwriting on the front made my throat close up. My mother's handwriting. "Owen," it read. Just my name in her careful script. "She gave this to me 6 months before she passed," William said. "Made me promise I'd find you when the time was right." My mother had been gone for 2 years. Heart failure at 46. We'd been living in a studio apartment in Trenton at the time, barely making rent. I'd been working at a call center trying to save money for community college. She'd never mentioned this letter, never mentioned William Ashford contacting her. I opened it with trembling fingers. "Owen, if you're reading this, the Ashfords have finally shown themselves. Probably because you're in trouble, real trouble, and they can't hide anymore. They will try to use you. They will offer help wrapped in conditions. They will make you feel like you should be grateful just to be acknowledged. Don't beg them for anything. Document everything. Build your case like a wall they can't climb. And remember, you are Nathan Mercer's son. You are my son. You deserve the truth. Fight back, baby. Make them see you. Love, Mom." I pressed the paper to my chest and let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. William watched me, his expression unreadable. "Do you own your future, or do they?" I looked at the folder, at the credit statements, at the loan applications with my forged signature, at the trust document showing $847,000 that should have been mine, slowly drained into a accounts belonging to Daniel and Charlotte Ashford. My voice came out steady. I do. That night, William put me up in a Marriott courtyard off Route 21. The room had clean sheets, a working shower, and a bed that didn't smell like my own sweat and desperation. I stood under hot water for 40 minutes, watching 2 weeks of living in my car circle the drain. The next morning, I met William in the hotel restaurant at 7 a.m. He'd brought 2 people with him. Owen, this is Marcus Chen, forensic accountant, 15 years with the FBI's Economic Crimes Unit before going private. And this is Jennifer Blake, civil litigation attorney, specializes in identity theft and fraud cases. Marcus Chen, late 40s, sharp suit, reading glasses on a chain around his neck, shook my hand with the kind of grip that meant business. Mr. Mercer, I've reviewed the preliminary documents Mr. Ashford provided. What's been done to you is extensive, systematic, and completely prosecutable. Jennifer Blake, mid-30s, red hair pulled back in a tight bun, carrying a leather briefcase that probably cost more than my car, sat across from me and opened a laptop. We're not here to threaten anyone or make promises we can't keep. We're here to assemble facts. Once we have facts, we have leverage. They weren't there to rescue me. They were there to arm me. We spent 6 hours in that hotel conference room going through everything. Every credit statement, every loan application, every business guarantee with my forged signature. Marcus walked me through the paper trail. Your Uncle Daniel was sued in 2016 by a business partner. The lawsuit alleged fraud, misappropriation of company funds. Daniel needed to move assets quickly, put them somewhere protected. Your name appeared on 3 business entities within a 6-week period, all filed with your social security number, all listing you as a guarantor. I was 17, I said. Exactly, which makes it even more egregious. Marcus pulled up a spreadsheet on his laptop. Your Aunt Charlotte opened her first credit card in your name in 2017. Capital One, $5,000 limit. She maxed it out in 4 months, made minimum payments for 8 months, then defaulted. The account went to collections in 2018. Jennifer added notes to her legal pad. That's when your credit score started tanking. By 2019, you had 7 collection accounts, all opened by Charlotte. Total debt, $67,000, all in your name. My stomach turned. I never knew. They counted on that, Jennifer said. You were young, probably not checking credit reports. They bet you wouldn't notice until it was too late. When did you first realize something was wrong? Marcus asked. I thought back. Last year, I applied for an apartment lease in Edison. Got denied. The property manager said my credit score was 510 and I had multiple accounts in collections. I thought it was a mistake. Did you dispute it? I tried. Called the credit bureaus. They said the accounts were valid. I didn't have money for a lawyer. Didn't know where to start. So I just kept trying. Moved in with roommates. Kept my head down. And this year? Jennifer prompted. This year, everything had collapsed. In March, I got a notice from the IRS. I owed $23,000 in back taxes on income I'd never received. Apparently, one of Daniel's business entities had reported distributions to me as a partner. The income was fabricated. The distributions never happened. But the tax liability was real. In May, my employer, a medical billing company where I'd worked for 2 years, ran a background check for a promotion I'd applied for. The check revealed multiple outstanding judgments, collection accounts, and an active warrant related to unpaid business debts. I was fired on the spot. In July, my landlord served eviction papers, not because I hadn't paid rent, I had, but because the property management company discovered the warrant during a routine tenant verification update. New policy, no tenants with active legal issues. In August, I was arrested at a traffic stop. The warrant was for unpaid business debts tied to one of Daniel's companies. I spent 3 days in Essex County Jail before a public defender managed to get me released, pending a court date I couldn't afford to attend. That's when I sold everything I owned and started sleeping in my car. The system failed you at every turn, Jennifer said quietly, which means we need to rebuild your credibility before we can take this to court. How? Marcus leaned forward. We file disputes with all 3 credit bureaus flagging these accounts as identity theft. We submit police reports documenting the fraud. We request forensic analysis of the signatures. We subpoena bank records, email communications, and business filings. We build an airtight case that proves you're the victim, not the perpetrator. How long does that take? Weeks, maybe months. Jennifer's expression was serious. This won't be fast, but it will be thorough. William had been quiet throughout this conversation. Now he spoke. Owen, I'm funding this. The lawyers, the accountants, the hotel, whatever you need. No strings, no conditions, just justice. Why? I asked again. Because I failed your father, and I failed you. His voice was rough. I let Daniel and Charlotte poison this family. Convinced myself peace was more important than truth. Your mother tried to tell me what they were doing and I didn't listen. I won't make that mistake again. By day 3, Jennifer filed disputes with Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. All 7 collection accounts flagged as fraudulent. All credit card applications marked as identity theft, a formal request for investigation. By day 5, Marcus had subpoenas moving. Bank records from Chase, Wells Fargo, and Bank of America. Business filings from the New Jersey Division of Revenue. Email archives from Daniel's company servers. Jennifer's legal team, 3 associates working around the clock, started assembling the evidence timeline. Every account opening, every loan application, every forged signature. The metadata alone is damning, Marcus told me during a meeting on day 6. These documents were filed electronically using IP addresses traced to Daniel's office and Charlotte's home. Not your locations, not your devices, their computers. Can they claim I gave them permission? They can try, but you were a minor for the first several incidents, and we have no written authorization, no power of attorney, no legitimate business relationship that would justify this level of access to your personal information. On day 7, Charlotte called me. I was in my hotel room. William had extended my stay indefinitely when my phone rang. The screen showed a number I didn't recognize, but something made me answer. Owen. Her voice was honey-sweet, dripping with fake concern. Oh my God, I heard you've been struggling. Why didn't you reach out to us? We're family. I laughed once, bitter, dark, because you caused it. Silence. Long enough that I thought she'd hung up. Then her voice came back colder. That's a very serious accusation, Owen. I'm holding your account records right now, I said. Capital One opened March 2017. Nordstrom card, June 2017. Discover, September 2017. Want me to keep going? Her tone sharpened like a blade. You have no idea what you're doing. No idea what this will cost you. I'm owning it, I replied. That's what I'm doing. She hung up. 15 minutes later, Daniel called. Pure rage. You ungrateful little... He caught himself. You're going to destroy this family. After everything we've done. After everything you've done to me, I interrupted. Let's be clear about that. Your father would be ashamed. My father would be ashamed of you. My voice stayed calm, even though my hands were shaking. Using his son's name to hide your fraud. Stealing from his estate. Treating my mother like garbage while you lived off money that should have been mine. You can't prove any of this. Marcus Chen, 15-year FBI veteran, disagrees with you. So does Jennifer Blake, who's built a career prosecuting exactly this kind of fraud. Want their numbers? Daniel's breathing went ragged. If you pursue this, I already am. I hung up before he could respond. The texts started immediately, from both of them, from relatives I'd never met, from people claiming to be family friends. You're tearing the family apart. Your father wouldn't want this. Think about what you're doing. We can work this out privately. You'll regret this. I forwarded every message to Jennifer, printed every text, saved every voicemail, added it all to the file that was growing thicker by the day. They're panicking, Jennifer said during our meeting on day 9. People don't send threatening messages when they're confident in their position. This helps us. How? It shows consciousness of guilt. They know what they did. They're trying to intimidate you into silence, but you're not staying silent. Marcus had news too. The forensic signature analysis came back. Expert opinion. The signatures on these loan applications and business documents show consistent deviation from your actual signature. Different pressure patterns, different stroke formation. In 3 cases, they're not even close. So it's definitely fraud. It's definitely fraud. At 8:17 p.m. on a Tuesday, 2 weeks after William found me sleeping in my car, Jennifer's firm sent formal legal notice to Daniel and Charlotte Ashford. The letter demanded complete audit of all accounts opened in Owen Mercer's name, full restitution of funds misappropriated from Nathan Mercer's estate, immediate cessation of any use of Owen Mercer's identifying information, cooperation with Credit Bureau corrections, intent to pursue criminal referral if compliance not achieved within 14 days. My phone exploded within an hour. 18 calls in 90 minutes. Text messages lighting up my screen like fireworks. Please, we can fix this. You're making a huge mistake. Just talk to us, please. The lawyers are lying to you. We never meant to hurt you. I didn't answer, didn't engage, just documented everything and sent it to Jennifer. Let them panic, she said. We're negotiating from strength now. On day 16, Charlotte and Daniel's attorney reached out. Michael Stevenson from Stevenson and Partners, 28 years in practice, representing clients in high net worth disputes. My clients are prepared to discuss resolution, he told Jennifer over a conference call I listened in on. But these accusations are inflammatory and largely unfounded. Jennifer's response was clinical. Mr. Stevenson, we have forensic evidence of systematic identity theft spanning 8 years. We have expert testimony regarding forged signatures. We have documented financial harm exceeding $800,000 when you include the trust disbursements, fraudulent debt, and economic damages. Your clients can cooperate now, or we can proceed with criminal referral and civil litigation. Their choice. Silence. On the other end, I'll need to consult with my clients. You have 48 hours. 2 weeks later, 1 month after that knock on my car window, I sat across from Charlotte and Daniel in a conference room at Jennifer's law firm in downtown Newark. The room smelled like anxiety and expensive cologne. stone. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city. Late afternoon light made everything look gold and unforgiving. Charlotte wore a cream-colored blazer and pearls. Her hands wouldn't stop moving, adjusting her collar, touching her necklace, smoothing imaginary wrinkles from her sleeves. She'd aged since the last time I'd seen her at my mother's funeral. More lines around her eyes, gray roots showing in her carefully styled hair. Daniel sat beside her in a navy suit, arms crossed, jaw tight. He looked exactly like my father in the photos I had. Same bone structure, same blue eyes. But where my father had laugh lines and warmth, Daniel had this hardness, this edge that made him look perpetually angry. Their attorney, Michael Stevenson, mid-50s, silver-haired, expensive watch, sat at the head of the table with documents spread in front of him. Jennifer sat beside me. Marcus Chen was on my other side. William Ashford stood near the windows, silent, watching his children squirm. "Let's begin," Jennifer said. "Owen, would you like to make an opening statement?" I'd practiced this, rehearsed it with Jennifer until my voice stayed steady, but actually looking at Charlotte and Daniel, at the people who'd systematically destroyed my life while I struggled in poverty, made my hands shake under the table. "You stole my identity when I was 16 years old," I said quietly. "You opened credit accounts in my name, signed business documents with my forged signature, drained money from my father's trust that should have supported me and my mother. You did all of this while we lived in a studio apartment and I worked 3 jobs just to survive." Charlotte opened her mouth. "Owen, you have to understand. I'm not finished." My voice stayed level. "My mother died at 46. Heart failure brought on by stress. She worked herself into the ground trying to keep us afloat while you lived in million-dollar houses and took vacations to Europe. You treated her like garbage after my father passed. When she tried to ask about the estate, about the trust, you told her she was crazy, unstable, trying to take what wasn't hers." Tears started down Charlotte's face. Calculated tears, performance tears. "It wasn't like that. We have recordings," Marcus interjected. "Phone calls between Charlotte Ashford and Nathan Mercer's estate attorney in 2013. In them, Mrs. Ashford explicitly states that Owen and his mother should receive as little as legally possible and that they'll waste it anyway." Charlotte's face went white. Jennifer continued, "We also have email correspondence between Daniel Ashford and his business partner in 2016 discussing liability shields and using the kids' clean record to protect assets. Direct quotes." Daniel's jaw worked. "That's taken out of context. We have bank transfers," Marcus said, pulling up his laptop. "Between 2015 and 2024, $847,000 was dispersed from Nathan Mercer's trust. The trust documents specify these funds should have gone to Owen's education, living expenses, and long-term financial security. Instead, they went to accounts controlled by Daniel and Charlotte Ashford. Want to see the wire transfer records?" He turned the laptop around. Rows and rows of transactions. Dates, amounts, account numbers, all of it there. All of it documented. All of it undeniable. Charlotte put her face in her hands. Her shoulders shook. Daniel stared at the table, his face red. Michael Stevenson cleared his throat. "What are your demands?" Jennifer slid a document across the table. "Full restitution of the $847,000 trust disbursements, plus accrued interest. Immediate cooperation with all 3 credit bureaus to correct Owen's credit history. Signed admissions of wrongdoing for the court record. And a public statement retracting the lies spread about Owen's mother regarding her supposed instability and her character." "That's..." Michael scanned the document. "That's extensive." "It's fair," Jennifer said. "The alternative is we file criminal complaints for identity theft, fraud, and embezzlement. We pursue civil litigation for damages exceeding $2 million when you factor in economic harm, emotional distress, and punitive damages. We make this as public and as ugly as possible." Charlotte whispered something to Michael. He leaned in, listened, then looked at us. "What about criminal referral? If they cooperate fully." "No criminal referral if all conditions are met within 30 days and maintained for 5 years. If they violate any provision, even one, we pursue charges without hesitation," Daniel scoffed. "You think you can demand—" The door opened. William Ashford stepped forward. The temperature in the room dropped. "You will do it," he said. Not shouted, not yelled, just stated as fact. Daniel's face went red. "Dad, this is theft." William's voice was granite. "Systematic, calculated, cruel. You fed on silence for too long. It ends today." Charlotte looked up at her father with pleading eyes. "Dad, please, we can explain." "No more explanations." William moved to the table, placing both hands on the surface and leaning forward. "When Nathan passed, I made you promise you'd look after his family. Instead, you erased them, stole from them, destroyed them, and you did it thinking I'd never know, that they'd never fight back." His voice cracked. "You were wrong." Charlotte's shoulders sank. The tears weren't calculated anymore. They were real, broken, the kind of crying that comes from realizing you've lost everything that mattered. Daniel's hands curled into fists on the table. This is going to destroy our reputations. Good, William said coldly. Maybe you'll understand what you did to theirs. They settled. The agreement was signed on November 18th, exactly 6 weeks after that knock on my car window. $847,000 restitution paid in full within 48 hours. Another $127,000 for accrued interest and economic damages. Full cooperation with Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion to remove all fraudulent accounts from my credit history. Signed admissions of wrongdoing filed with the court, and a public statement published in the Newark Star-Ledger and sent to everyone in the Ashford family social circle, retracting all claims about my mother's character and acknowledging the systematic fraud committed against Owen Mercer. When Charlotte signed the final page, her hand shook so badly the signature was barely legible. Daniel signed without looking at me, slid the document across the table, stood and walked out without a word. Their attorney, Michael Stevenson, gathered the papers with the kind of careful efficiency that said he'd seen this before. The funds will transfer by end of business tomorrow. The credit bureau letters will be sent by Friday. The public statement will run Sunday. He paused at the door. For what it's worth, Mr. Mercer, you deserved better. Your father deserved better. Then he was gone. Jennifer, Marcus, William, and I sat in that conference room in silence for a long moment. It's done, Jennifer finally said. I looked at the settlement agreement, at the numbers, at the admissions, at the black and white proof that I'd been right, that my mother had been right, that the Ashfords had systematically destroyed us. Yeah, I whispered. It's done. The public statement ran in the Sunday paper exactly as agreed. Public notice, correction, and apology. Daniel and Charlotte Ashford wish to publicly acknowledge and apologize for statements made regarding Catherine Mercer following the 2012 passing of Nathan Mercer. Previous characterizations of Ms. Mercer as unstable or financially irresponsible were false and damaging. We further acknowledge systematic misuse of Owen Mercer's personal information between 2016 and 2024 for the purpose of shielding assets and obtaining credit. This conduct was fraudulent and caused significant harm. We sincerely apologize to Owen Mercer and to the memory of Catherine Mercer. It was 3 paragraphs, 74 words, published in print and online. Within 24 hours, Daniel and Charlotte's social circle imploded. William showed me the texts he received from family friends, business associates, and people I'd never met. Did you know what they did? This is horrifying. How could they? That poor young man. I always thought something was off about Charlotte. Daniel's business partnership dissolved. His partner, the same one mentioned in those 2016 emails, issued a statement terminating their relationship due to irreconcilable ethical differences. Charlotte resigned from 3 charity boards. The official statements cited personal matters requiring her immediate attention, but everyone knew. In circles where reputation was currency, she was bankrupt. I didn't celebrate, didn't feel triumphant, just tired, relieved, like I'd been carrying something heavy for years and finally set it down. My credit score went from 510 to 721 in 6 weeks. All 7 collection accounts removed. The fraudulent accounts closed and flagged. My actual credit history, minimal but clean, finally visible. I moved into a 1-bedroom apartment in Bloomfield with an actual lease in my name, real furniture instead of second-hand pieces, a bed that didn't sag, windows that locked. William helped me enroll at Rutgers as a continuing student. My father's trust, now properly managed and actually benefiting me, covered tuition, living expenses, and left enough for a secure future. I started classes in January, business administration with a minor in accounting. The irony wasn't lost on me, learning to audit the same systems that had destroyed my life. William and I had dinner every other week, slowly building something that resembled family. He told me stories about my father, the real Nathan Mercer, not the sanitized version Daniel and Charlotte had created. Funny stories, complicated stories, true stories. He would be proud of you, William said over coffee one February evening. You fought back when most people would have given up. I had help. You had the courage to accept help. That's different. He studied me across the table. Most people offered what I offered would have said no. Too proud, too suspicious. You trusted me. Mom's letter helped. Your mother was remarkable. I wish I'd known her better. Wish I'd listened to her when she tried to tell me what Daniel and Charlotte were doing. You're listening now. Too late for her, but not too late for you.